Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. That's the second video of the tutorial for the Soldiers vs Zombies game. In this video, we're gonna spawn allies in the scene using drag and drop. Let's go through it. Let's start adding a canvas object to our scene and set render mode to screen space camera, and also update the render camera option with our main camera. For the canvas scaler, let's use the option scale with screen size, so we shouldn't have problems to display the UI with screens with aspect 16 by 9. And then let's set the reference resolution to 1280 by 720. And for the match, let's set 0.5 because the scaler will be kept proportional in case of different screen sizes. Now it's time to create a panel at the bottom of the screen to show the allies. As we have 3 different types of allies, this panel will have 3 buttons. One will be a red fence, another one will be a yellow fence, and the latest one will be a survivor. And for the background of those buttons, I'm gonna use this panel and also this darker one. Let's import these sprites to the sprite folder. And after dragging them into the unit, let's select all of them and mark the compression to none for both folders. Now let's create an image to be our panel and move it to the very bottom of the screen. And for this, I'm gonna use this brown panel and call it Ally Spawner Panel. Let's also add an empty object to represent our Ally button. I'm gonna call it Ally Spawner Button. After this, let's also add an image to be the background of the button. And for this, I'm gonna use this light panel sprite. Moving this to the very left, and finally, add another image to show the ally sprite that will be spawned. Let's call it ally image. Just for a while, I'm gonna use the survival sprite to be our placeholder. Let me resize it just a little bit in a way that fits better in the frame. Now, let's create a script to control the drag and drop of the ally images and name it as drag and drop ally. Then attach it into the ally image. Let's open the script and first import the event system namespace so we can use the unit drag and drop interfaces. Let's implement the interface begin drag handler, end drag handler, and also the drag handler. I'm gonna add the bugs into those 3 handlers so I will know they have been called. Great! As now we have our interface, let's add a field to represent the rect transformer of the image and also the canvas, and then get them on the awake method. For the react transform, I'm gonna use the getComponent method because the script is in the same level of the rect transform. But for the canvas, I'm gonna use getComponentInParent method because the canvas is in some levels above of the ally image in the object's hierarchy. We want to change the image position while we are dragging it. For it, let's update the anchored position of the image based on the event data delta in the onDrag method. Let's go to Unit and see if this is working and it is logging our messages on console. Let's play. Alright, nice. I can see those logs, but while I'm moving, it is create a big gap between the cursor and the ally image. And it is also getting behind of the road. First, let's fix the ordering layer of the image, setting it to 5. And then fix this gapping. After doing some researching, I found the answer that the delta should be divided by the canvas scale factor. Going back to Unity and hit play, voila! Now it is following the image without gap, and when I drop the image, it stays there. Now, let's add a canvas group in order to change the alpha of the image while we are dragging it and change it back to 1 on end drag. Going back to the drag and drop ally script, let's add the reference of the canvas group on awake. When it begins drag, let's set the alpha to 0.7 and on drag end, set it back to 1. So let's see how it goes in unit. Nice! Now I can see the alpha going to 0.7 while I'm dragging it and going to 1 when I release the mouse button. Now, let's set the positions that the ally can be instantiated, and in our case, it should be only on the roads. To set the position where they can be dropped, let's create an object called ally slot. Let me reset the object position. You know, guys, that is a good practice to reset the object position when a new object has been created in the scene. The benefit of doing this is to guarantee that Unity does not mess with the Z position of our objects. Okay, so let's set a sprite handler and set this round sprite, and then set the ordering layer to 5, because we want those slots above the road. In order to know if it's colliding with our ally, I'm gonna add a box collider and check the trigger option. Let's create an ally folder to store scripts related to ally, and then create the ally slot and the ally scripts under it. Let me open the ally slot script. Okay, so first, let's add the ally attribute and a method to check if this slot has an ally, because a slot can have 1 or 0 ally. Second, we will need a method to set an ally to a slot. This method should receive the data of an ally. As we did for enemy, we should have scriptable objects with the data of the ally. For this, let's create an ally stats script, and it should inherit from scriptable object. Let's annotate this class with the create asset menu and set the file name with ally underscore and the menu name with scriptable object /ally. And then add the sprite and the ally prefab attributes. Going back to Unity, let's add an ally game object into the scene. Add a sprite handler component and set the survival sprite. That's just a placeholder because the sprite information will be from the ally stats, and we're going to change the sprite via script. And also, we cannot forget to change the ordering layer to 5. So the logic that we are going to implement will be, when we select an ally from the ally spawner button and move it to one of the ally slots and then release the mouse button, the ally slot will detect a presence of an ally, and an object should be instantiated and set it to the slot. Okay, so let's implement it. First, we need to create an ally prefab, and for this, let's attach the ally script into the ally object and drag this object to our prefab folder. And then, now we have a prefab, let's remove this ally from the scene. Second, as we have the ally prefab created, let's add some scriptable objects for allies. So, going to create scriptable objects and then ally, let's name it to ally survivor. And let's set the sprite to the survivor image. And also, let me set the ally prefab for it. Now we have one ally stats for the survivor. Let's go back to the ally slot script and change the setAlly method to receive a parameter with the ally stats type. Then we can instantiate a new ally with the ally prefab setting to the position of the slot. Let's also set the parent of the ally to the ally slot and the ally sprite based on the sprite for the ally stats. As we don't have a sprite property in the ally, let's create it and give its name sprite. So when this property has been set, the sprite of the sprite handler component of the ally will be updated. Great! Now let's go to the drag and drop ally script to implement the detection of the ally image with the slot. For this, we will need a field for the slot layer, a field for the ally stats to pass the information of the ally through the setSlot method, and a vector 2 to represent the size of the area for the collision detection. That detection will happen on the end drag handle. Let's use the physics 2D overlap box method to check if the image is overlapping any slot. If the collider is not null, we can get the ally slot from the collider. With that, we also need to check if the slot is empty and call the setAlly method passing the ally stats. That's a lot of changes. Let's go back to Unity, set the slot layer and test it. So first, let's create a new layer called slot and set it to the ally slot game object. Now, we can set up the ally drag and drop script with the new slot layer and set the ally stats prefab. And let's play. we can drag and drop the image, and when I release the mouse button, I have an ally in the slot. Let's pause it just to double check if it's all fine. As you can see, we have an ally object under the ally slot with the survivor sprite. That's great, it worked. But I just noticed a bug, because when an instance has been created, the image from the ally spawner button should go back to the spawner panel. So to fix it, let's create a vector tool to store the initial position of the image and set its value on awake. And on the drag handle, we can update the rect transform position to the initial position. Let's see if that's fixed the bug. Let me drag this into the slot and drop it. That's lovely. The image is getting back to the initial position when I drop it in any place. Now we can create more ally slots, and we can drag and drop our allies on those slots. So going back to our scene, going to create a new empty object called lane01 and set the ally slot here. Going to create a prefab for this ally slot and duplicate this. Let's set this X position to -9 maybe, no, -8, and this -7, -6, -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's duplicate this. So this will be lane 2. I can change this position to right here and lane 3. Let's test. Can drag and drop, drag and drop. If it's wrong position, goes back. And if it's already there, it does not create a new one. Now let's create another variation of this button. As now we have ally prefab, let's create another prefab to represent the ally fence. And let's add just a placeholder here to this fancy red. Let's create another ally using a scriptable object. So create scriptable object ally. This one I will call ally red fence, but the sprite will be this fence red, and our ally prefab will be our ally fence. Going back to a scriptable object, let's duplicate this. This will be yellow fence, and its sprite will be the yellow fence image. Great! As we now have the yellow and the red fence ally stats, it's time to show them on the screen. For this, let's create a prefab of the spawner button and store it in a new folder called UI. First, let's duplicate our survival button and arrange them into the spawner panel. Second, let's update the image of the middle button to be the red fence and set its ally stats to red fence data. And finally, for the third button, let's update it to be the yellow fence, so it should have the yellow fence ally stats. Let's play and see if that works. If I drag a red fence into the board, I can see it has been instantiated. Same happens to a survival and also for the yellow fence. Great, it's working, but the size of the fence images are wrong. Let's stop the game and fix it. Selecting the ally image and hitting the set native size to do the work. Lovely. Let me do the same on the yellow fence. Let's save our changes and run it again. That's nice, seems much better. The drag and drop feature is working. If I try to drop an ally on a busy slot, it doesn't permit, so it's working as it should be. Let's wrap up this video here. I will let the link of the branch with the code and assets that I use in this video in the description below. In the next video, we will start to make the enemies and allies take damage. I hope you guys have enjoyed and see you in the next tutorial. Thank you and bye!